Man, you can really tell I need a haircut right now. Hold on. That's a little better. I mean, you know, magic of hairbands. I've actually done this before in a video. See if you can figure out which one. So today is the 1st of July, which means this is the 1-year anniversary of me playing the Bionicle Motonui Online game. And I cannot recommend that series enough. It is one of my favorites on the channel. If you're watching any of my other series right now, stop watching it. Go watch Motonui Online. It's only about 10 parts. Plus I even do a collaboration at the end. It was just so much fun. I mean, I love Bionicle. And you know, I didn't want that to be the final Bionicle thing I did in the channel. I, of course, wanted to do more things like that. The problem is where to go from here exactly. You see, your immediate thought would be the second Motonui Online game, because I mean it's Motonui Online 2, right? That's the direct sequel. That's what I gotta do next. But actually it doesn't quite fit there. There are a lot of important things that happen before that game. Another thought might be the Bionicle the game, the one that came out on consoles like GameCube. But that might be the worst way to continue on. That game was very heavily rushed. I mean, after all, this was after they had canceled that PC Bionicle game where you're playing as the toa. And so they had to quickly rush this game. It's only like 6 or 7 levels long or so. And it's overall not very good. It's especially not very good in terms of storytelling, which is the important, you know, next step of Bionicle. I mean, the game we played wasn't even technically the original start we were supposed to do. That was the Bionicle Game Boy Advance game, I think called Tales of the Tohunga. But I mean, I feel like that game takes a lot of the magic away from the Motonui Online game. After all, it just shows you all the places and all the people that you'll meet in the Motonui Online game, and it takes away the surprise that you're playing as Takua the whole time. Again, I feel like the Motonui Online game is the perfect start, but the problem is where to go from there. Well, there's a few different avenues to cover. Firstly, there's the comic books, and these had come out long before even the Motonui Online game. They were published by DC, and they mainly focused on the toa, where, you know, the Motonui Online game had you playing as Takua and meeting all the Matoran. The Bionicle comics directly followed the toa. I mean, the first issue, I think, directly follows Kopaka as he first arrives on the island, which is a kind of unseen story in the games. So okay, the comics are an important media, but there's another thing too, because the comics don't follow up with Takua and his friends. I mean, that's what we want to see after beating the Motonui Online game, right? Those are the characters we've gotten to know. The media there comes in the Bionicle Borac animations. These were short little animations released on their website that basically just show you a bit of the story, and they help fill in a lot of gaps, but not quite all of them, which is why, again, the comic books are still important in that aspect. So with that all out of the way, why don't we just continue the story and catch ourselves up so that we can jump into the second Motonui Online game, or maybe the movie, or stuff like that. So where we last left off, Takua had just stumbled across this massive hive of creatures. And these creatures were known as the Borac. They were eventually released, I think like 2002 or 3, sometime around then. And they were a true villain for Bionicle. You know, before we had the Rahi, which were just kind of creatures that Makuta happened to possess. But these were a unified force, they were a hive, they had the 6 distinct colors just like the toa did. And they were kind of creepy in a way. You know, they were completely mechanical except for the brain, which is called the krana. They can actually shoot out their brain, kind of deactivating them, and latch it onto other Matoran or Toa even, and kind of possess them using the krana.
Live the legend at bionicle.com.
So okay, this hive has been unleashed. You wake one, you wake them all, and well, it seems like Takua is the one responsible. After all, we saw him kind of wake the Borac. It actually wasn't Takua who woke the Borac up, it was Makuta, who, of course, is still alive even after the last encounter, like Nick said.
He totally threw that fight.
Now, it's interesting how the comics and the Borac animations kind of link together in a way. A lot of story key events happen in one and then resolve in another. That's why I'm talking about them both in this one video, because if I were to just do a reaction to all the Borac animations, or if I was just to do a read-along for all the comics, it wouldn't quite fill in all the gaps either way. One of the first things that happens in the Borac animations is Onukoro is attacked, and 3 important characters are caved in by the Borac. They're kind of trapped. Now, 2 of these characters are familiar. We have Onapu and Tepu, who both appeared in the Motonui Online game, but we also have a brand new character. Again, this is why the Borac animations are important, is because they introduce a lot of new characters that we have to see here. This new Onimatoran is Nuparu, and it seems like he's kind of just here as a joke. He's not really important. In fact, Onapu just kind of writes him off most of the time, but he actually plays a very important role. While they're kind of trapped in this cave and it seems like there's nothing they can do, Nuparu finds these Borac remains, and he actually uses them to build this machine called the Boxer, which not only gets them out of the cave, but also is very effective at fighting the Borac. It's like this weird Matoran Gundam in a way. This Boxer set was eventually released, and it came with Nuparu, who was the new character, and I forgot to show this off during the Let's Play, but the Matoran actually did have their own releases. They were actually toys at McDonald's. Now, because they weren't as much of a high-quality build, and the pieces weren't as sturdy, but, I mean, they were the cute little characters. They got the job done in a way. Anyway, the Boxer was built, it was an effective tool, and it was needed to take back Lake Koro, because that had been taken over by all of the Borac, and, in fact, every single Lake Koro Matoran, except for Kongu and Tamaru, had been taken over by a Krana. There's this really epic last page in the comic books where it just ends on this cliffhanger and you see all of Lake Koro has a Krana all on their face. Even Turaga Matau has been possessed at this point. Again, this is why the animations in the comic books have to kind of coincide at this point. You don't see Kongu and Tamaru make it to the others in the comics, at least I don't think you do, but you do in the animations. But then again, in the animations, you don't see all of Lake Koro taken over, you do in the comics. And actually, this is the one physical comic I still have left. This is Borac Saga Part 3 of 6. This is released in May of 2002. And this covers a lot of the battle in Lake Koro. And actually, this has another confrontation between Onua and Leiwa, which is funny because in the Matanui Online game, this exact same thing happened. You know, Leiwa got possessed by one of the Rahi or Makuta or whatever, and Onua had to come in and fight him to save the day. But here it's kind of a play in those events where Onua just kind of talks him out of it. Onua says, "I know you're stronger than this parasite. You're a Toa. Prove yourself worthy of the name." And Leiwa says, "Yes, Toa, my people, my friends. I will not harm Onua. I will not." And he rips the Krona off. It's a cool moment, you gotta admit. And so yeah, comics like this just kind of followed the Toa taking on the Borac, while the Borac animations followed some Matoran life going on. A really important key event that happens in those comics is with kohli. You know, kohli, for all of Bionicle at this point, had been played by kicking, like it was a kind of soccer-like sport. But during the Borac invasion on Gakoro, during the Borac invasion on Gakoro, a lot of the Gamatoran ended up using fishing nets to save the day, and that kind of inspired it being the new way to play kohli. Now you would carry the ball in the fishing net, throw it like this, and maybe catch it on the other side. It was more like lacrosse than it was soccer now. Just to get more of Takua being a hero, doing his thing. And he's more of a character now, I would say, just because it isn't a first-person perspective. I have amnesia, what am I doing? Like, it's an animation. It's like a movie in a way. But oh, the finale is coming up. In the last page of this exact issue, we are introduced to... what are these characters' names again? The Tada, Gadak, Tavak, I don't know, they're just the Borac queens, essentially. You remember aliens? This is them. So these queens are in charge of everything, so the Toa have to go into their hive and defeat them. Which, I mean, they do. They do the same exact move where they combine all their elements together and seal them in protodermis. But upon defeating those Borac queens, they are dropped into this pit, or these 6 vats. And in these vats, they don't actually die. They're instead transformed into new Toa. Hold on, let me fix this. There you go. What once was the Toa Mata is now the toanuva. They're these new armored kind of forms, and here I'll just give you a little look at Tahu. All their weapons are completely silver. They all have this unique chest plate and shoulder pad kind of armor. Their masks are more detailed, but I like that a lot of these specific character traits are retained in these new designs. Pohatu's body is still upside down. Onua's head is still hunched over. Kopaka still has his shield. You know, a lot of fun stuff like that is still kept the same. As the toanuva, they are incredibly strong, completely in control of their elements. I mean, it seems kind of artificial, I know. But also, it was neat to see the Toas kind of revamped in a way, you know? Now, this is one of the key reasons I did not want to talk about this through the Bionicle video game, because it's so awkward how that happens there. You play 2 levels, one is Tahu, one is Kopaka, and then suddenly a cutscene starts where all the Krana are swirling around, and then the Toa are suddenly transformed with 0 explanation. So anyway, the Toa are incredibly powerful now, and everything seems fine. There was this one scuffle with the Borac Call, these kind of newer versions of the Borac. All they really did was take away the Toa's powers for a short bit, and I guess, try to cause a bit of ruckus. They didn't really destroy entire nations like the original Borac did, and they were kind of an in-between story. Eventually, Tahu was able to defeat them, and one of the important things he did was he used the Mask of Time, a mysterious mask that, well, manipulates time. Kinda ridiculous that that's been around the whole time. I mean, where was that when we needed to defeat Makuta? Where was that when we needed to defeat the Borac Queens? But eventually the Borac Hall are defeated. At the very end of the Borac animations, there's this kind of celebration where the Matoran are revamped. What once looks like this, now looks like this. Kinda neat, huh? I mean, they're now an official LEGO product. They're not like a McDonald's thing, so they have a lot of the same pieces that you would expect out of a Bionicle. These new arms were the same ones the Borac had. Their body is now movable, kind of like the toes are. They're also able to hold kohli sticks, or the new kohli sticks anyway, in their hands now that they have the traditional, I don't know what you call this, the hands. How dare you? So yeah, there were the new Matoran that were released in 2003, and that's a big part of the reason you need to see the Borac animations before playing the second game. Because in the second game, you're playing as a Matoran named Holly, who was introduced in the Borac animations, and Holly, along with all of the others, have the new revamped designs. A few of the key designs to note are Kopik, who has a brand new mask, not sure what that's about, and for whatever reason, Hafu and Tepu both got brand new masks. I mean, they already looked exactly the same except for their mask, now you're just making it more confusing. Anyway, that's all for today. Now we're all caught up so that we can jump into a let's play of the second Motonui Online game, or perhaps even a review of the first movie. I'm curious to know what you guys think of this kind of video. I have a lot of other ideas for things I could do just talking and sitting in a chair. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments and we can maybe make some more videos like this. With that being said, have yourself a very good day.